Defense Department has spent over $1 trillion on the most cutting-edge robot technology. Introducing RoboSanta Plus for the upcoming holiday season.
Hi, Riley. How are you doing? Nice to see you.
Hello, I'm so good. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. I mean, you must be super excited because you've got 2 Christmas films out at the moment. I mean, you got one that's just come out today, which is kind of not exactly the same as this one, but
it's a little bit different.
Yeah. So, I mean, tell me about, I mean, the first thing I wanted to ask you about was obviously, I mean, you've done about 3 different kind of Christmas rom-com type movies. What was it about this one that kind of the 4th time was something time to kind of swivel and try something a little bit different, very different?
Well, in this one, I'm covered in blood, which is sick. And there's stunts and explosions and driving cop cars and ambulances and fighting a robot. So why wouldn't I want to be a part of this, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, and I do, it's funny though, I do still think that this is technically a rom-com.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that was one of my next questions, because I'm obviously you share some great chemistry with Robbie, Sam in your film, though.
Yes.
Obviously, the kind of you share this kind of, I don't want to give too much away, but you share a lot of things in common, specifically kind of whiskey and horror movies more than anything. Now that's kind of the pivotal kind of thing around your romance. I was speaking to Joe the other day, and he was kind of, I said to him that I've hung out with him a few times at festivals, and he kind of, your character specifically, I mean, both of them, yours and Sam's, felt very Joe. But when I asked him that, he said that you kind of brought a lot of the kind of the films that you talk about and things like that. You brought some of that yourself. How much of that was Joe and how much of that was you in the film?
So it was really, I think when it was written, Tori was kind of like the female version of Joe. And then once I got the role, I completely like studied all of the films that they're talking about and the music, and I got quite wrapped up in it all. And so Joe was really, really good about letting us improv on the day. And so I was so thankful that I got to set and like had actually studied all this stuff, because I would have had no room to improv if I didn't know what any of these things were. And so I think a lot of it just came out on set and like playing around and like challenging each other's views on what we actually thought about these movies and this music. So yeah, I think it was like a pretty big mix of Joe and I.
Having said that, I was speaking to Joe, and he said that he kind of forced quite a few horror movies onto you before you dived in there. So you had quite an extensive collection to go through before you shot it, no?
Yeah, we met up for coffee when I got the film, and we were talking about horror movies, and I love horror movies, but I have only seen them like if they're like past 2002. Like I haven't seen a lot of like the classics. And he was like, how have you not seen this? What are you talking about? And
that was after he cast you, no? I imagine.
Yeah, but he could have pulled the cord. He could have pulled it. But I was like, I'm not watching that. But yeah, he was like, you have to go watch this. And so anytime I have a homework assignment and it's watching movies, I'm obviously going to do it because that's the best. And I watched Child's Play for the first time.
Right, really? The first time, yeah.
Alien for the first time. Yeah, like Pet Sematary I had never seen. And now I've just gone down a rabbit hole of watching that genre from that time.
Perfect. Yeah.
And
now obviously I'm going to speak about Santa, because obviously this kind of he's pitched as Terminator Santa now, but obviously we've got Abraham, who's a fantastic veteran actor that Joe was a big fan of from years back. So what was it like working with this guy who, I mean, obviously he plays this robot character, but there's this physical actor behind there. How did you kind of work with Abraham behind the scenes to make that kind of work? Did he stick in a corner and kind of stay away from you, or did you kind of really kind of work with him and kind of there was more to and froing than we might have imagined?
Yeah, I feel bad. I do feel bad, because I think the first couple of days he was trying to like keep his distance to keep that going. But he's so lovable toward everyone else. And I was jealous of that because I wanted to be his friend. And so I forced my love on him. And we have a lot in common. And so on set, we became quite friendly. But during like the bigger days, we'd kind of keep our distance from each other a little bit, knowing that it was separated with love. But yeah, the first couple of days, I saw him talking with everyone else, and I was jealous because he seemed really cool, and I wanted to be his friend. So I forced it on him.
And obviously, I mean, you said that you found this newfound love for older horror movies, but at the same time, Joe was really specific about wanting to film it old style, old school. Now, it went with 18mm film, and also most of the effects and kind of the robotics was all old school. It was actually on camera. No, that must have added quite a lot of pressure to you, kind of shooting and acting in front of a camera, knowing that if this goes to waste, then that's all that film goes to waste. All these effects have got to be redone again. So that must have been quite an added pressure for you, no?
It totally was. Luckily, I work well under pressure. I like it. I come from a theater background, so like it very much felt like when you walk out on stage and you've got the one go to do it, and like it really is quite thrilling, because you know that whatever you're doing is going to be captured, and it's not going to be deleted, and you like can't watch playback. And that's a big one as well, is like it created so much freedom to just like play in the moment. And while there is an added pressure to it, I think it really made it so much more like more of a thrill, really, in my opinion. And then with all the robotics and everything, like I just had to make sure that like I was on top of my shit, so that if anything, because sometimes robotics go wrong, like sometimes it's mechanics, and so I had to be in control of what I could control, so that if anything on that end happened, I wasn't adding any more stress or pressure to it. I actually kind of liked that. And on top of that, Joe does not use marks for actors, right. Which was amazing. And we had the freedom to literally go wherever we wanted to, knowing that he would follow. And I've had to unlearn that now on other film sets, because so many times you have to just hit your mark and say your line. So I've had to come back and be like, oh yeah, I can't move.
So I'm going to give me a wrap in a minute. So just to finish off then, obviously this is, I don't know if it's your first horror production or not, but I imagine this is kind of being able to go to the festivals and kind of live this very, very different kind of fan base and this kind of things. You must have caught the horror bug, no? And is there something that you'd like to dive into again sometime soon?
100%. I was just saying that I love horror fans. I think I've never seen support like it. Like the movie hasn't even released yet, and fans of the film that have seen it at festivals and stuff are already showing up in droves, like ready to watch and support. And I think that that's so sick. And it like being welcomed by that community is huge. So I absolutely want to do horror again.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Riley, thank you so much for your time. Fantastic film. I wish you the best of luck when it comes out. And hope to speak to you again sometime soon, and have a merry, bloody Christmas.
Thank you so much. You too.
All right.
Have you heard from the boys down at the scene yet?
They're still down there counting bodies.
No!